Podtacular 263, Reclaimer Speculation, September 22nd, 2011.
Hello everyone, welcome to Podtacular episode 263. I'm your host, Duststorm, and today we have 4 guests for you. Greg's not here again, but we have a big enough panel anyways to get this thing going. So let's start off with GrimBrother One from HBO. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks so much for having me, man. It's a pleasure as always.
All right. We have Elusive Eagle from Spirits of Fire.
Hello. Well, glad to be here.
Awesome. From the Podtacular community, we have Funnyboy.
Hello.
And we have Zant117.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Awesome. So this week we're kind of touching on some of the stuff that happened on Halo Fest, in specific, kind of stuff based on the storyline of Halo, kind of diving into speculations for Halo 4, and some of the stuff that we'll see in some of the books that are supposed to come out, maybe some of the stuff that we'll see in the terminals from Halo CE Anniversary, and that kind of stuff. So, I don't think we've ever had kind of a formal introduction for you, Grim One, so why don't we go ahead and do that? Go ahead and tell us what community you're from, how you're involved with that community, and how you got involved with Halo.
Goodness. Well, I guess my primary involvement is with HBO, halo.bungie.org, and goodness, as far as involvement with Halo I've been involved with, even just as a fan for, since the good old days when it came out, and everybody stepped in, made the proverbial step out in, from the pellet or from the life pod and look at the ring arcing up, and from there it was just, kind of love at first shot, really. So, it's, and then it kept growing from there, and Halo has become a much more social thing as it's gone. So that same thing kind of happened with me. Eventually I kind of was following and lurking for quite a while in the HBO community, because there was just such a wealth of knowledge and information there from people who were really, a lot of them were primarily Bungie fans, and so they were used to this kind of, and this style of storytelling from them, from some of the previous forays into video game development. And so I started, kind of jumping into conversations and jumping into more conversations and spending a lot of time on the internet and finding news posts and things that were newsworthy, and just eventually worked my way into a position where I, became on staff, and have, I guess, gone progressively from there. So, I consider it quite an honor to work under and beside, sometimes literally, maybe the greatest figure in Halo communitydom, Claude Herrera, or Louis Wu, as everybody, usually people know him online. So, primary, it's the HBO community, but also a very high growing in the Waypoint community now. Once 343 Industries kind of took over and they wanted to grow their community, they had some people kind of come along and become community leaders, and we have another one of those community leaders on the panel with us today. So
awesome. And speaking of that person, we will head over and do the same questions for you, Mr. Elusive Eagle.
Sounds good. Similar to Grim, it kind of goes back a long way. Halo 1 was what started obviously started my first kind of foray, my first interest in Halo. I just fell in love with the story, the environment, just being able to explore, and progressively increased from there. I was a lurker at HBO for a long time, many years. I didn't post too much, but active participant, paying attention to posts, and just, again, same as Jeff, loved the wealth of information, knowledge, the community there. And then as time went on, I joined. At that point, it was Hottie McBloggy or Hottie McForums, and from there, I was able to work my way into the Spirits of Fire clan, which is where I am today. I still participate with all sorts of communities, including HBO. That's kind of my home still from way back when. But I love being able to have the Spirits of Fire, and obviously now, again, as things progress, I'm now with Waypoint. So that's also a great honor, a lot of fun. The Halo fans and just the community is so special and so almost unique compared to especially other games, and so it's a lot of fun to be able to be a participant in that and have a little bit more of an active role as a community leader. So lots of fun, happy to do it, and here's to more Halo, right?
Indeed.
Amen.
Yep.
More Halo is what we want. More Halo is apparently what we'll get.
I'm all for it.
So let's go ahead and go on to our Podtacular community members. Starting with Funnyboy, you've been on the show before, and you're also on a partner show that we had back a while ago, Around the Ring. So
Yes, I've never been on the show before. I've only been on Around the Ring.
I'm pretty sure you've been on the show before.
Don't argue with the host. If he says
He
you've been
knows
on,
all.
even if you haven't, you've been on.
Just nod and say yes.
Just smile and nod.
He will edit you into a previous show just to be right.
Oh, the magical power.
Oh god, I'm nervous.
So, go ahead and tell us kind of how you found out about Podtacular and kind of what you do around the place, if you do anything.
Let's see. I think I found out about Podtacular 6th grade year. After I got my first Xbox and bought Halo, I was looking around for podcasts, and Podtacular was on the list. And I kind of chuckled at the name, and so I decided to start listening to it.
So you decided to start listening to us because of our funny name.
Yes.
Interesting
And that-
reasoning. Okay.
It's a good thing you didn't go with that other name.
It wasn't my decision.
Yeah, really. But then after that, I just kind of lurked around, and then I submitted to the show once, made a fool out of myself, so then I registered on the forums to make a fool out of myself further. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
And how's that working out for you?
Not very well.
Why do you say that?
Jeez. Well, I'm an idiot. It's just not good for me.
Man. Guess we know what we're going to talk about next episode.
Okay.
Self-esteem in the Halo community. What does it mean to you?
No, it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it.
That's good. Okay, Zant117. How about you? This is your first time on the show.
Yeah, it's an honor to be on here. I've been listening since episode, like 70 maybe? Like it's 6th grade. I was going on iTunes, just like Funnyboy over here, looking around, see if there was anything Halo related, and I came upon Podtacular. Yeah, I've been a fan since then. Just got on the forums and stopped listening since of certain reasons, but I can't really say. And yeah, and that's it. That's all I got from you guys.
All right. Cool. Well, that's it pretty much for intro. So let's go ahead and dive right into this thing. We did get the announcement during Halo Fest of the quote-unquote Reclaimer Trilogy. So 343.
I love that name.
343
Yeah.
Industries is planning for three new games. So we will have content for at least another 10 years. Halo Fest 2021 will be interesting.
That's going to be
Yeah,
so
well,
awesome.
I'm calling it now. I'm making the prediction. Halo Fest
There will be blood.
2020. I didn't say that. Well, there might be Cubby blood.
There will be Jesus.
So, let's talk a little bit about the Halo 4 panel that we saw at Halo Fest. Now, there was, of course, there was a lot of people that kind of said that there really wasn't enough of like the revealing of the story so much. But then again, if you think about it, at the point the Halo 3 announcement was kind of at this point, we did have the in-engine demo from the E3 presentation, but in terms of the story, we really didn't have anything. So I don't think we'll really be expecting that until I don't know. What would you guys say?
Well, the only reason why, I mean, we knew a little bit more probably about the story with Halo 3 when it was announced is because we were freshly coming off the other two games. I mean, some of the story was kind of at least inferred because we knew what was going on over the course of the first two games. But going into the Reclaimer Trilogy, we know only slightly more than we know going into Halo 1, which was nothing. So, right. I mean, and I think that's one of the big draws of it for me. I don't mind at all that, they haven't really plugged in a lot of story type stuff. I do think it would be maybe neat to see something in engine, but I think at the same time they're probably keeping a lot of stuff close to their vest, and they want to make it as solid a reveal as possible. And I certainly hope, as a fan and as friends of people who are helping make the game, that I hope that's a wait that's well worth it. There's, to me, I completely imagine, I would liken it to, I think I've said this before, to like watching other people open presents you got them. Like it's like, I always like Christmas. I have a big family, and I always love watching them open the gifts that I've gotten them, because you put thought into it. And I would imagine, especially from 343, these people are all Halo fans, and I know they've got to be nervously anticipating all of the community's reaction to,
right.
and I do hope, I will say, I do hope, and there was an interesting discussion going on with HBO about whether or not they can make the tough decisions and not just try to please everyone. And I think that is a valid point, that you can't make a game by committee. You do have to, Bungie got to where they were not because they were making the game everyone else wanted, because that would have been crap. They made the game that they wanted to make, and we ended up loving it. So hopefully 343 can follow the direction that they want to take and not try to make the game they feel like everyone wants, but feel like they're making the next game for the betterment of the franchise. And I think that the real fans will follow along. You may lose a couple and you're going to gain some too, but you've got to do what's right for it. So as far as revealing the story and everything, I'm not even worried really about the story. That's like it's funny because it's the least of my worries, even though it's my favorite thing. It's the most important thing for me. I'm more concerned as far as the actual gameplay and presentation of the game. How we're going to be exploring this world rather than the world we're actually going to be in.
Right.
I'm very nervous about the story. I don't know. I'm very clueless about it as well. I just hope it's good. As long as it's good.
Well, something. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's kind of something that I guess you could say perhaps irks me, maybe slightly bothers me about pretty much the nature of the game industry today.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Your points are invalid.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying something that kind of bothers me today is that, or at least for the last few years, is kind of how it's been. When a new game is coming out, there's obviously huge marketing budgets that are now being spent, but it's like they reveal more and more of the game to try to interest people before the game even comes out. And in some cases that might really not reveal much, but in other cases it really frankly does, I think. And way back when Halo 1 came out, no one, as Jeff was saying, no one knew anything. They knew it was in existence. That was pretty much it. They knew they were working on it. But, when that first trailer...
When they thought it was a third-person shooter.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
For the
When
Mac.
that first trailer at the Mac Expo came out, that was kind of the first glimpse of it. And then still nothing was, not much was revealed before the game. And so I hope and I wish that 343 kind of sticks to keeping it cryptic, as we had mentioned earlier, just kind of keeping it...
The puns are being thrown
keeping
everywhere, aren't they?
Clueless, almost as you were saying. Just because I think it will be such a new experience, or just to be able to have almost nothing going in that we know about. I think it will just provide a much better experience from the get-go. Now, obviously, it's hard nowadays because everyone likes advertising. Everyone likes marketing budgets that are in the millions. Everyone, likes to share everything, it seems like, about their game before it comes out. But I hope that's not the case. I'm just,
Right, yeah, I really hope that they keep everything under wraps. Kind of like, I didn't know Gears of War 3 was in existence until like a week before the launch. I really
Don't tell me about the story. I haven't finished it.
I haven't bought it. I haven't even bought it. But I love I love it when game companies keep everything very under wraps, so you experience it for the first time.
Well, you've seen we've seen a lot of companies do that. Rockstar has done a pretty good job. Valve has done a pretty good job. It's like, hey, we're making this game. It's available next week. Haha.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That actually kind of reminds me of an article I saw either on Slashdot or CNN. And I'm not saying that this should be done in the gaming industry by any means, but they had a study where people who knew how a movie ended found more enjoyment in watching the movie than people who didn't.
I think that is a BS lie.
Yeah, no, I want to see other statistics.
I want them to Tarantino this kind of thing, like where they just show like the part of the ending and then just moving on with the game. I don't know.
I don't know, because for me, I got to see the whole campaign of Reach a week before the game came out, and I don't know, I had a really good time playing the game when I got it.
It's really funny you say that, because I was actually just talking to somebody who is a big Gears of War fan, and they went ahead and just watched a stream of someone playing it, literally like got some popcorn and checked it out like a movie, and watched, and I can understand a little bit to that, because then you're like, then it is a more of kind of like a cinematic experience, because you don't even have any control over what's going on.
Yeah, but then when you play it, it's like, wow.
Yeah, I've already seen all this.
Well,
yeah, see, with a game, I think it would take away from the experience. For me, not necessarily for somebody else.
Adds some stuff and takes away some stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you could kind of say that in different situations, not even just watching it, but like the plot for for Reach, for Halo Reach. It was like the Titanic. We all knew what was going to happen to the planet.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't like, are we going to save the world? Like we knew that the quest to save Reach was going to fail miserably by the end of it.
That's a good point.
And I don't think that that's necessarily diminished in any way. In fact, it almost made it more poignant that the whole time you have like a split personality. Like part of you feels like Noble Six, and you're really trying against all odds to make this huge difference and to maybe save what can be saved. And then like the other part of you is like this omnipotent being that knows. It's like you're watching yourself like, don't go in there. Don't go in there. They're just going to glass you. So it's like, I wouldn't say that it diminished it at all, but at the same time, there was an element that was missing in Reach that was there for, let's say, like the original trilogy, because when you came into Halo 2, you really didn't know what was going on, and when you came into Halo 3, you still didn't know how it was going to end. And, this new trilogy is going to be even more so. So with Reach, it's like, it is kind of a surprise, but really the surprise was the journey and not the destination. And I think that can make a difference in how you experience that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I felt that same way. Again, going back to the Gears of War 3 reference, it's like they talk about how it's the end. So you feel like in the end you're going to have some last stand. And I think that kind of makes you, in a sense, more excited to play the game because you want that experience. Like, you know it's there, and so you're trying to get to it. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
You want to experience the journey, you mean? Like, you want it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think a little bit of openness is okay, but just a little bit.
Right. Well, and I'm sure we'll get some openness, especially with, Halo 4. I just hope they, I'm hoping. Well, obviously I can't assume, but I'm hoping that there's some big kind of shockers in the story. Obviously the flood was came out of left field in the first game. I hope we have things like that to look forward to, and obviously I don't want those ruined. I don't think they would though. So
I don't think they would. But
yeah, they're not gonna do something crazy where you see some threads of the Forerunner race where they actually survived somehow in a bunker somewhere, something like that.
Be like Crisis. You think you're fighting the Viet Cong? No way. These are aliens.
You hear Great Mind all crazy.
Well, don't have to play Crisis now. No.
Sorry, I spoiled the 6-year-old game.
Still worth playing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 1 minute art trailer.
Concept art.
The concept art thing, yeah.
Concept art.
So let's talk about that a little bit and how. I guess let's pick that apart. So a lot of the stuff that I guess we've seen in there architecturally, we'll probably see in the game at some point. How do you think that all kind of fits into the story? Because we definitely saw enough in the concept art to, at least in the beginning section, where they're showing off everything, not the whole amassing of army stuff, but we see enough kind of architecture to make out what maybe a full game's worth of levels that we'll see. And you can definitely tell that a lot of it's Forerunner, and it seems like a lot of it, if not the whole game, is going to occur in this planetary whatever this thing is. Whether it's Onyx or not, we still not quite sure. But let's kind of speculate on what changes we'll see in terms of kind of layout. Do you guys think it'll still feel like the art that we've seen throughout the Halo games, or do you think it's going to be quite different now that we're on I guess I'm going to go on the assumption that it's a Shield world. If it's not Onyx, it's some kind of Shield world.
Well, I think that it's going to be it's going to be an interesting one of the neat things that you may have going is you're going to have a little bit of that old feeling and a new feeling in the fact that when you walk, ever since Halo 1, you were surrounded for these Forerunner structures that really kind of enacted this feeling of mystery and wonderment to you, and that carried on through the original trilogy. And I think that you're going to have that common theme, but now, and Frankie alluded to it in a couple of the panels, this stuff isn't dormant, or is at least not acting dormant anymore. Instead of just being this structure that was just kind of sitting there doing nothing, or at most maybe, test firing a pulse into the sky, now this stuff is going to be highly active, or at least, far more active than we're used to. And so I think that that's going to help give us an element of familiarity, because we kind of at least feel like we're familiar being surrounded by Forerunner technology, but not necessarily Forerunner technology that is turned on still. And so I think that's going to help go a long way in the, hey, this is familiar, but by the way, it's not. And so it's going to it could, if they do it really well, it could lead to some really creatively unpredictable moments, because you can kind of lull yourself into a false sense of security of like, I'm used to this environment, but it may react to us in a way that we're completely not used to. And that way doesn't even have to be hostile. It could be very welcoming. It could be almost beckoning us in further, and that's kind of scary as well. I mean, because there's that strong history of there being, a destiny with humanity and with the chief, and that he is playing this greater part in something that we're not quite sure of what's going on. And I think that as those layers are peeled off, then that's what's going to help kind of bring that mystery into focus. And I'm excited about it. And you specifically talked about the concept art. First of all, as kind of like a trailer storytelling element, I think it was a clever way to reveal some stuff without revealing some stuff.
Right, exactly.
It was
great description there.
But it was a neat way, because it was art. To me, it almost a little more poignantly made a connection between like the books, because you're used to seeing, that stuff looked like the cover of Cryptum and Primordium, and so you kind of got the feeling again of this driven interconnectedness of everything. And so and I haven't heard anybody mention that, but that was something that I kind of thought about, was like, it's almost like in revealing a little bit to us through this animated concept art, it's still like they're driving home the fact that, hey, if you want to know more, and if you really want a trailer as far as what the story is going to be, why don't you go read Cryptum? Why don't you go, why don't you wrap yourself in some of this fiction and some of these other avenues that are right there available to you right now? And it will also enrich the experience once the game comes out itself.
Right, and 343's making a pretty big push on the books. I mean, we saw that they had a panel
very happy
specifically
about. Oh yeah,
to
definitely.
The authors of the upcoming books.
Yeah, like what Grim was talking about, where you read the books before, like you actually, or like if they leak any, or they have any books before, like you play the game. Like for me, before I played Reach, I read the book, and I kind of had an idea on how all this was going to go down, and I think what they're doing is like really good,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the structures are going to be just like amazing too. Now that we're progressing like even further into the story, like you're going to find more. I don't know, how do I put this? Guys, want to help me out with this? I'm trying to find the word.
I feel
Bananas.
Bananas. It's gonna be.
it.
I feel like we've been on the Ring, and that was supposed to be a very exotic, wild world, although graphically it wasn't, just because of the time period. But now it's like we're back on this alien planet, sort of, and I think everything's just going to be a lot more exotic and unpredictable.
Well, it's weird too, because now we have some of the floating stuff, and
yeah,
I'm not exactly sure what to make of that stuff.
You're in the concept art trailer, you mean?
Yeah,
mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot of interesting geometry. I'm really excited for it. It's going to be kind of uneasy for me, but
it looks
really
like
open.
A lot of the stuff is a lot more open space now.
Yeah, I noticed.
Which is very Halo 1 to me.
Yeah,
Right,
it is.
Exactly.
It is.
Did you guys happen to read, out of curiosity, the OXM special edition? It was not the one it's not the regular edition. It was not the one that we got at Halo Fest. It was a special release that was a Halo 10th anniversary issue, and it was all Halo stuff. But their first chapter to Karen Travis's new novel, Glasslands, is in that.
I did not read it, but Jeff promptly posted his review on it on our forums.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, obviously, it's the first chapter of a book, so
yeah,
I'm almost mad I read it because right now I have Rule on myself. when I have nothing to to go forward with that. But
next month we can wait. No.
yeah, right. Well, some
Some of us.
But it was neat because they kind of touched on, with Halsey and and Mendez and the Spartans on the Shield world, that there's like wildlife there, and they're looking at, and it's funny because one of them is wanting a steak, but it's neat. I think it really is. It's in there, and I think that's going to kind of carry through is the Forerunner connection to that kind of stewardship and that mantle and that ownership of all the kind of life in the galaxy, and that they were building these worlds, but these worlds weren't completely dead. I mean, they were populated, and so it'll be interesting. I mean, we've seen stuff even on the Halo rings and little wildlife here and there, and a lot of that obviously comes down to processors and graphics and things like that. But I think that the new games are going to open that up a little bit more for us. And as far as, what you were saying too, Dust, about the Shield world, I do think it's a Shield world as well. It could be. The only other thing I was thinking is it could be a Forerunner line installation, which you learn about
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and
I have no idea what those are.
it's interesting because it's not real super spoiler, but in Bloodline, it's in fact it's not a spoiler because it's in the description, I think, of the on the back cover. But basically, it's this installation that is drawing in these ships in to do some testing and stuff on them, and so I kind of got that feeling when I was watching, like it was this structure that was drawing in these other ships. And maybe because when we were watching the concept art, it looked like maybe there was some stuff there already, even human. And of course, we don't know the order of these things, so we don't know when what happens. But maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a line installation, or it could be a Shield installation because we already have a precedent for various types of Shield worlds. I mean, on the Waypoint Intel section, if you look up the Shield world section, it makes a distinction between the Shield world that was on Onyx and the Shield world of, let's say, the one in Halo Wars. And, if you look at the one in Halo Wars, it's basically a hollow planet where you went in and it's just kind of like inverted. But the one in Onyx it exists in a slip space pocket, in a slip space rift. And if I'm not mistaken, they make the measurement that the artificial star that is in there on the one on Onyx is 1 astronomical unit away, which would be 93 million miles. So that means that the interior diameter of that has to be 2 astronomical units. And I think GrimBrother 4 and I did the math one time, and it ends up being like you would have a surface area of like 16 quadrillion miles, I think, or something like that, of just space to wander around. And so I mean, and that's a different structure. I think that's a different approach to the Shield world that the Forerunners took, because it's not just an inside out thing, because obviously Onyx was not that big on the interior. That's
definitely
taking you to a different place. So I think even Halo physics wise, that it's a different beast. So we've already seen at least 2 different flavors of Shield world, and so it could be another, or it could be a different type of installation. It could be a line installation, and I think that's all going to be very important as to how the story progresses, is what that is.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's pretty great point. I was going to bring that up as well. I mean, we don't know. I mean, it could be, obviously the Master Chief was, he kind of, his half of the ship Forward Unto Dawn was, stuck somewhere. We don't know. I mean, he could be trapped in slip space. He could be in real space. So it's interesting. We don't know much about slip space other than some of the laws of physics are the same, but there's obviously some that aren't. So it could open up all sorts of possibilities. But you bring up an interesting point with that line installation too. I hadn't thought of that before. So
Here, I have a quick question for everyone here.
Fire?
You know how in Reach when George sets off the bomb and the slip space thing
He's
goes off?
dead.
Oh,
Why
he's
do you
so
say
dead.
that? Why do you say
There's
that?
no way he survived.
Why do you say
There's
that?
no way he survived.
You know what? Actually, it may be part of that. I'm actually hoping he's dead because no, because to me that was a very, very poignant sacrifice in the story, and I think as a storytelling event, it would mean more to me if he had died. Like, I don't know. Literally, that does not go into the physics of it and whether or not, there is an issue with that or he could have been teleported somewhere else. I mean, is it possible? I guess maybe. I mean, Oni could have covered it up then that works for anything. But as far as like for the storytelling alone, it meant more to me, that sacrifice. In fact, it was actually one of the saddest things, was because he died pretty confident that he had just dealt a major blow to the Covenant and had maybe enacted the change enough in the battle to save Reach. Then of course he's gone, and he's gone for like 7 seconds. It's like you're like, oh well, son of a, so you're like, woo, glad Georgie didn't see that. That would really suck if he was like, oh, I saved you, thunk thunk, what the dead, like
Yeah.
that would have been awful.
Yeah, I think I take your side, as I don't want to see that George survives, just because the sacrifice was so meaningful to me. Brought a tear to my eye, and I was all crying, and Right. If he came back, I think it would kind of ruin that moment for a lot of people.
I mean, if you want to think of something more in the canon base, if you're looking for a potential explanation, I mean, they were using a human slip space drive, SHAV, however you say it, I can't pronounce it. Anyway, translate engine, and they are very. I guess the description you could use is very rough as far as how they tear those micro black holes to create the slip space rupture. So, Covenant technology, and then even more so Forerunner slip space technology, they're very, it's like a scalpel, it just kind of very nicely slices in, and they were using the very rugged human engine, so that could have caused all sorts of distortion and, torn things apart. Right. So
he survived, but his arm is
we could have ended up with like 4 Georges.
Yeah. Paraplegic George.
Oh, that like Chief and Cortana are floating out there, and they're like, George? What the hell?
Dunk. You flew like a rock. No.
You just hear bunk. What was that?
For a break, Chief flew pretty good.
Yeah, right.
What always bothered me about George's death was that he was just like, all right, kid, time for you to go. So he throws you off a spaceship. Like, that was a good idea to him at the time.
Yeah, and we can't take fall damage.
Well, he did throw a re-entry jet.
It has cybernetic armor, so...
I just thought it was ridiculous. Like, you need to go. Whoop.
I mean, Master Chief fell in, like, Halo 3 and almost did nothing to him.
But that's Chief, and that's the future, right? That's modern technology.
Oh, well...
Well, they were using experimental Spartan 3 armor, weren't they? In Reach?
I just can't believe.
Well, no, they were using Mjolnir armor, so I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that the shielding could have survived that. That is, if that's our biggest worry in canon, we're doing really well.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, out of all the possible ways to go, he just kind of pushes you out the shield door. I thought it was strange. No drop pods. No. That's too simple.
Well, you're in the Covenant ship. Well, I mean...
They had drop pods.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but I don't know if they knew exactly, hey, what's the code for this?
That's easy.
It's like, but then, boom, he could have just landed. But no,
he could have landed in an ocean and drowned.
Oh, that would have
because the Pelican was still there.
Now we know how George died.
Yep.
Jeez.
And that's the end.
I mean, the Pelican was still there too. I don't know why it couldn't have just flown out.
I know. Well, the Pelican had the slip safe drive in it.
No, it was just hitched onto it. I'm sure you could break that off.
Mhm.
This actually reminds me of somebody made a post, and this is tangentially related. Somebody made a post about each of the deaths of Noble Team. I wish I could remember who it was so I can give them proper credit.
Except June. Or
yeah. But they said, who was it? Carter was the leader and basically took out, he flew into it with, his Pelican, a very leadership thing to do.
Yeah.
Pat was kind of like the brains, and she got shot through the head.
Which I think everyone was the most frustrated out of her death.
That was kind of
Yeah, I was like really mad when
Everyone
I
I
saw
was like, well,
Well-
she's out of the way.
Most people were pissed. I was just like, what the hell? That doesn't make sense.
That was random.
It was so sudden. Yeah.
Emil was all about like the knife, and he got ran through with a sword.
Meal was the
Well,
big problem.
Noble 6 was a lone wolf, and he died alone. And June was like the hidden sniper, don't know where he is, and now we don't know where he is or what happened.
That's a very interesting point.
And like, and George too was like the big brother, the big guy, and so he died in that very big and grand sacrificial way. It was actually kind of interesting, like that the personalities of each were kind of like paralleled in their deaths. I was like, man, that was awesome. I was like, I just thought it was cool that the legendary statue went in the order of their deaths. That's even cooler.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Wow, yeah.
All the deaths were set up very well, I thought, except Carter's. I didn't really like. I just thought, like,
Yeah.
he did. I saw that and I was like, I could have done that myself. You didn't need to do that. I've got a rocket launcher. I've done
In
this.
fact,
Halo
I
3 a
wanted to
million
fight the
times.
Scarab.
I know.
Yeah.
You
I've killed 3 of
bastard.
these things in an hour. Come on. But whatever.
Okay.
Wow, we
so-
keep kind of going off on tangents.
No, I
Trying
mean
to keep it on the
that's
concept art track.
we're staying relatively on topic. That's fine.
Still,
So let's talk about the second part where we see this kind of. It's pretty much active at this point, or there's some kind of army forming on whether it's in the Shield world or whether it's something that the chief or whoever else is there has done. Do you guys think it's friendly, foe? What's your opinions on kind of the whole amassing of army?
We
or
now
ships?
we now know. I mean, Frankie actually said, which was news, in like an interview recently, that it's a few years that Halo 4 takes place a few years after Halo 3. And I know that Glasslands is kind of filling in some of that, and Frankie was talking about that in Glasslands we're going to find out that humanity, when we're not being beaten back every single second, are pretty pretty good with some tools and are now able to study Forerunner artifact and start to incorporate that technology. And so I think that we're going to see advancements in slip space travel and being able to track. And of course, Cortana laid that beacon down. So it could very well be that they have found a way to, by Halo 4, get to Chief and Cortana. So that could be a way, and that could be a clever little canon way of giving us back our Warthog.
That'd be interesting, especially if it's been that long.
So
like
and
419's gonna be like, here's a warthog, chief.
right.
I'm a warthog in space.
Well,
Thanks, woman.
I guess one question for you, Des. Was there a specific part? So you're saying the second half, where is that where the music picks up then, or is that?
Yeah, that's where the music change. We see. Yeah, pretty much.
Quite honestly,
Because there are a couple glimpses. I wonder if I can get a timestamp here. But I mean, I think it's pretty clear, at least with one or if not two of the concept art pieces, that there are definitely humans and UNSC on site, perhaps even Covenant allies. But as you were making the point earlier, these are not dormant Forerunner structures. So we obviously see a lot. Well, I wouldn't say a lot different, but it's kind of a new take on this, on the Forerunner experience we've had before. now that they're moving or active or doing stuff.
Right.
Okay, I think I got this timestamp. Let's see.
I particularly want to see something flood related, if not just something similar to the flood.
You do, or you don't like specifically the flood, or?
Well, not specifically the flood, but something of that nature.
Yeah,
like
I was thinking of it like it would be interesting to see like just a totally new species.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, it's like I wonder, okay, would that almost complicate it too far?
That's true. I thought about that.
Or does some, because it's almost like I almost feel like there's still. I know that some people don't feel the same way, but I guess if you've just played the games, it would be easier to feel like everything is played out. Which I guess this almost doesn't make sense the way I'm saying it. But to me, I mean, I've read every book and every little side story and to me, there feels like there's so much more to it, and that there's so much more that could be done, even with the main suspects. And I will say that if we were going to see the flood, I hope that we see them in some sort of different form.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be really interesting to see, what if we get there and there's floodified Forerunner? I mean,
oh gosh.
Now, I mean, that would be a take on the flood. I mean, it's so you're almost looking at like techno flood, like I mean, slow sticks and everything. Yeah. So and I mean that would be a way that I would be happy with the flood being presented. Is what if the flood has access to Forerunner technology even more so that that would be a very interesting thing to see. Now if they were going to go, if they're going to go on, or maybe there's a new species, maybe there was a species that, I don't know, I feel like if they just introduced a new species that was super vitally important, that wasn't the precursors, I would feel like, oh, that's kind of a letdown in a way. Like, where were you this whole time?
Right.
Maybe if they reveal something
I don't know. I would think seeing a new species or enemy, and then like throwing the flood in, like late into the next game or something.
Yeah. Like
a surprise, like, oh, these are actually here. Like the fourth game, you're kind of getting into this new technology, this new environment, and there's this other enemy that you have to combat. But then again, the flood is lie dormant, and then you get there and you wake it up or something like that.
Right.
I think that would be another interesting possibility as well.
In a sense, I want to see the flood come back or something similar to the flood, but I do not want to have to go kill all of them like we did in Halo 3. That was my least favorite level, especially as a 6th grader. I played it at about 3 in the morning, and I almost urinated myself.
Oh,
I don't like all the gross, mushy stuff and climbing through these giant sphinxters, and there's things.
Wait, that bothered you?
Oh yeah, that bothered me.
Yeah, I can't understand why.
You know what's funny about that level? I actually wasn't a big, huge fan of that level, but I tell you what, when I got Evolutions and I read Human Weakness, I went back literally right afterwards and I played through the level. And it meant so much more. Now it's not like it's not necessarily like, oh, it's my favorite level, but now it feels like it was always the one that felt weird. It was always the one that seemed to pull me out of the story of Halo 3. Now it's one of the galvanizing pieces of the story. Now when I think of the struggle that she went through, and I tell you what, cool little pro tip for a fan. It was even better, and I'm not a big audiobook fan, but if you get the audiobook of Evolutions, Jen Taylor reads that story. And so you can hear her go through that. And Steve Downs actually reads Palace Hotel. But specifically, with Human Weakness, to hear her go through that and her talk about that, it was like having experienced in a game. And so I felt like this urgency. I felt like, oh man, like he's like, I use violate, I think is the best word for it. Like, I felt like she was she was being violated, and it was my mother effing duty to get back there. It's funny, it became not about the flood anymore. It became like, no, you're out saving your wife, girlfriend, mom, like sister, who, whatever she kind of, whatever that relationship represents to you. Right. All of a sudden this big galactic conflict now all of a sudden became about, no, I'm saying, I'm going back to save this individual that I love and care about. And, the rest of it be damned. So I think that, and again, that goes back to when things are interwoven very well over different mediums, and there are things that a book can give you experientially that you can't get through a game, and vice versa, in comics and things like that. So that's why I think that, for any big Halo fan, you are missing a little something, like, if you don't at least try to dabble into the other stuff, because it really does. It enriches everything else. And, yes, there are discrepancies with, like, Fall of Reach and Reach the game, but there have been plenty enough people now who, did some finagling with dates, and, we've worked out a pretty good way where it can all happen, all cohesively. But that's not the point to me. The point to me is the overarching story and what happened. And there was enough stuff in the Fall of Reach that told some of the story, about the other Spartans, that it's worth it to me to play that, to play the game and to read the book, and that you can have your cake kind of and eat it too, as far as the overarching experience with that.
Yeah, but man, the cake's a lie.
Yeah, right. Not this one.
Hope not. Anyone else have the opinion of bringing the other Spartans into the story, or
Spartan 2s?
Do you want to see? Well, yeah, like Kelly.
Oh, with Halo 4.
Or somewhere in this new trilogy, seeing these other, because we know Dr. Halsey's still alive with Kelly somewhere. What would you guys, or would you guys like to see that story somehow get integrated into this new trilogy?
If it makes
I would want to see at least.
Sure.
If they're not at least like in it as NPCs or whatnot, at least address their backstory. Because that's one thing. It was like, yeah, I know the Chief's a badass and all, but I want to hear about these other Spartans, because it provides more context.
What I would really like to hear about, in a sense, in kind of like in a masochistic sense, because it made me so sad, was Master Chief's relationship with Sam before he died on the Covenant ship. Because that brought me down to a stupor. I was so upset when that happened. I think it'd be interesting to see a little backstory played out.
Oh, with Sam?
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, with Sam.
I think that did a lot for his development as a person and as a leader. I think that was a very, very pivotal moment. And I also think that his relationship with the other Spartans, specifically like Fred, each one of them, it was funny because, when you read in the books, when they were together, oh my God, lethal freaking unit.
Right. They were unstoppable. They were unstoppable.
I remember reading, and reading a part where, Linda is hanging on a wire and she's sniping cats out of a banshee. And, I'm like, oh my God, badass.com. And, and it's funny. It's you almost feel like, when Chief got finally separated, he kind of had to take on elements of his team and channel them. And I always imagine that he, when there was a moment where he was having to sneak in and snipe something or run like hell or get in close quarters, that he was channeling his team through him, and that we were seeing elements of his experience with Fred and his experience with Kelly and Linda and Sam, and that he was bringing them along with him. And it's bittersweet, in all honesty. It's like, that's great, and that's almost sad because he's without him.
And I want to see that come through Halo 4. One, for people who haven't read the book maybe, or who don't understand it that much, because it takes Master Chief, who's been played out as this massive killing machine, and it kind of breaks him down to like a more like an emotional sort of a human level.
Yeah, I think it's more easily it would be more easy to relate at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like you're part of this group, and I mean you had to be separated for some reason. It seemed like there would be a lot more appreciation for who the chief is, to know what has happened to him in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just like any other soldier, he don't want to experience the same emotion. Awesome, the Spartan, all Spartan.
It's kind of like what they wanted to do with Homefront, except it would actually work.
Well, for the record, I mean, I love that so far, especially with the concept art trailer and everything. It really appears like 343 is trying to integrate some more of the previous canon and things into the story of Halo 4. And obviously, they've mentioned how basically everything from Halo Cryptum on will in some way be related, or foreshadowing perhaps, or including elements of or for, or anyway, related to Halo 4 though, which I think is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
As far as sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to mention quickly, as far as the Spartans go, I don't know if I'd want to, I certainly wouldn't want to, play as them, because then you have to kind of take some gameplay considerations.
Yeah, I'm not saying necessarily play as them, but see them integrated.
No,
into
in fact,
the story
I would, definitely not want to play as them, because I want it to be,
I just want to see
in some way scripted to see how awesome they are. Because I enjoyed,
exactly.
I kind of thought about them when I saw the monsters cutscene in Halo Wars. I remember seeing that for the first time, where the Spartans are just rocking, and it's just and they're working together as a team. And we got a little bit of a glimpse, I felt like, of what Blue Team would have looked like there.
Yeah, I was really good. But I think when, mentioning just now, it would be better if they somehow they integrated the Spartan 2s while you're playing the game. Maybe when you're something on the brink of death with a new species of flood or something like that.
Or terminals.
Or that.
Yeah.
Or while you're playing them, they're like normal flood that you would actually play with, and they're more dangerous, and you're not used to it. And then all out of nowhere, as you're on the brink of death, the Spartan, a squad of Spartan 2s comes in, and they help you out. They take them down like nothing, and
what's up, hombre?
Yeah. Why didn't you call?
That'd be weird to see if they were actually on this Shield world. That'd be an interesting twist of storylines.
You're saying if the Spartans from Ghosts of Onyx
somehow ended up on, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, basically, if the Slipspace Shield world from Onyx is
somehow connected,
one that Chief is going to,
that would be interesting.
I'm just gonna let the story happen and I'll enjoy it, because if I think too hard about those two lines coming together, on one hand I could kind of as an easy way out in a sense to kind of intertwine everything, but then on the other hand it could be, sure, it might initially seem like an easy way out, but then they could do it in such a way that it really is not only crucial but is enjoyable to experience, having those two storylines connected.
Well, you have to imagine that Halsey and the Spartans storyline is not going to end with and they all starved to death.
Right.
No.
You know, like
Could be some place where they're stuck in the corner trying to uncover some secret from some Forerunner thing, and
I mean,
they
remember
barely
if,
ran out of time or something like that.
if I'm not mistaken, oh man, it's been a little while. Wasn't there? No, not the being mistaken part. But wasn't in Ghost of Onyx when they came into a room where it looked like there were all of these like portals to different places that were like opening and closing, and like if I'm not mistaken, it almost felt like it was a place where
a transit hub or something?
Like a transit hub.
Right.
And I'm wondering if, maybe they find something like that and, like they're channel surfing, What's that?
Boring. I don't want to go to bed.
Go back. That was Chief.
Chief, are you okay?
I mean, and not necessarily something that simple, but, it could be.
Right.
Yeah, and with something else, we don't necessarily have to have resolution or, say those two storylines do eventually intertwine. It doesn't necessarily have to happen with Halo 4. There are Halo 5, Halo 6, so we could have some foreshadowing, or perhaps they're close but not close enough, or it's like they can see each other through the glass window but they can't get to each other. Who knows? So
Baby, come back.
So
your mic is
let's
off.
speculate a little bit on the, I guess, quote unquote monster that we saw at the end of the video.
I don't remember that picture.
There was something on HBO.
Let me see if I can
Grim,
pull it up.
Maybe you can pull this up.
I think I can.
There are actually quite a few. There's some really good composite shots.
Right.
And actually, I'm going to defer to Waypoint on this one. There was a really good thread on the Daniel, it was the beta forum still, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
That actually did an analysis and compiled together a bunch of the photos basically, because basically what it was doing is it was panning kind of up and down, so by putting
it was like a shake
together,
cam from an explosion or something.
Right.
I'm trying to pull. I'm
trying to find.
Almost.
I don't remember where. I know there's some things on HBO where it is. I haven't checked the waypoint.
Well, this is a giant image of it.
I mean, it to me, it kind of resembles that those big floating things from Halo 2.
The Sentinels?
No. The Guardian things that had the shields in the front and they had the rockets that shot off top. Things.
Like on Sacred Icon.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
They kind of, in my opinion, they kind of resemble that.
Oh, I can kind of see that.
Can you kind of see that? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, the thing is, to me, it appears like, so we have that leg. I mean, it looks like a leg to me. I mean, it almost appears like this creature is a bipedal organism, but then
could it be a war sphinx?
We see it could be. I mean, we see one arm.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
It sounds funny.
What's really funny is I realize that when I say that, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you think I'm making that shit up.
It sounds
I'm like 5 or 6 books behind, so don't even worry about it anymore.
When I hear War Sphinx, I think of like a big evil Siamese cat with rocket launchers and Gatling guns and.
Oh, so you have read it.
What?
That's basically what they are.
The
Oh, is that what it is?
No, it's not.
There's a new version though that we also learn. I think it's just briefly mentioned in Cryptum. So the War Sphinx was initially introduced with the Didax, right around his Cryptum, but then I forgot the name of the kind of the later version in a sense.
Oh, that's right.
It starts with like an S, I believe, but I can look it up. Anyway, yeah.
The name War Sphinx makes me laugh. Can't get over it.
Yeah, but They
I saw that
so-
camera the other day.
What the heck?
I don't even no comment.
It's a dying horse thing.
Not to rat on this composite, but wasn't there another composite that had a
Seeker,
full
sorry. It didn't.
like
Anyway,
a full thing, or was it just they took this and duplicated it on the other side?
Or
I
they
thought there
could-
was one that they showed both sides of it.
I don't know. It just to
oh,
me,
it's that one that has two sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but the one that has two sides was just a mirrored.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna
Just
say.
just wanted to
I
make sure.
believe
Yeah.
If
Okay.
you stitch the frames together, I think we just get one half of the creature. Yeah, that sounds
The math
weird.
works.
there's actually just two legs. There's nothing else. Just two legs. That's what it looks like to me. The picture, it just looks like, for me, somewhat of an elites, like near or anything like that. You know?
Mhm.
It looks
Well,
creepy. That's what it looks like.
did you guys?
I mean, it could be,
It's
either.
weird. Well, here's another
Like a
evaluation
precursor?
of it. It looks like it could be the leg of an elite and the head of a bugger.
Yeah. I was-
well, and what's
Almost.
interesting.
Known to man.
I'm so excited. It's a guess.
Seriously, that's kind of what it's like.
It looks like yes.
Well,
That's
I
his
mean,
only.
if you look at the description in Cryptum, or maybe in a few places, I'm trying to remember, but it basically describes the precursors as being bipedal, like 4 arms, and having an insect head.
Well,
that's kinda
and
what
also
described
like a
as.
crazy scorpion tail.
Oh,
or it could be like some.
yeah.
Or it could be
And
like
jetpacks and overshields.
like previous parts that they did, like some ideas that they throw away. They could have just made one like new or completely new creature that they got from different like concept arts from previous games that they threw away. They just made one entirely new one.
I think the more we talk about it, the more ridiculous it's starting to sound.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
this could.
It said there, humanoid, 4 arms, 2 legs, a long segmented tail was attached to the base of the skull, tipped with a meter-long barb. Each hand had 3 fingers and a central opposable thumb.
So it's like the aliens from Alien vs. Predator.
Well, those are they.
The face of a
Interesting.
precursor has been likened to that of a sea scorpion, a creature that the precursors had allegedly seeded on a number of planets. Their heads were flattened with oval compound eyes and presumably mandibles or similar mouth parts.
Well, that definitely looks or closely resembles what we're looking at. So
Well,
That's on page 277 of Cryptum.
and the thing we keep being told is, I think the phrase they use is ancient evil. Is that right?
Yeah.
As far as there's kind of an ancient presence out there, an ancient evil. We don't know what, and obviously ancient. The first thing you think of is flood immediately because they're old and evil.
Yeah.
But
and
could go
ugly.
farther than that. So I mean, it doesn't appear completely flood-like initially. It almost looks like it's wearing armor on its legs. I mean, it could be, I guess, a chitinous exoskeleton that grows in a very armor-like fashion. I don't know.
Yeah, it does look to me, it seems almost like something is wearing a combat skin.
Mhm.
Something that is, or that it is more, I mean, maybe it's a new type of crazy dormant sentinel, or maybe it's something, like another, like a different type of construct. I mean, what did offensive bias look like?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it's him necessarily, but, something like that. I mean, there's still a lot about the Forerunner technology that we don't know and that we're, just kind of figuring out. And you never know. I mean, we could learn a lot more about what we might be looking at when Primordium comes out, which comes out at the very beginning of the year. So,
That's true.
and that could coincide with our first look at, gameplay. Because if I'm not mistaken, we had the announcement for Reach, and then
Oh yeah, it was
our
the
first look at gameplay was the VGA Awards, which is in
Exactly.
December. I want to say December 10th.
VGA awards suck.
Oh, the
I hate
awards were awful, but I watched it for the trailer, and once the trailer was done, I just kept rewinding and
yeah. Well, I didn't watch it. I think I kind of, whenever it was over and they were doing the replay thing, it's just like, oh, okay, cool, the end.
Yeah.
I T-voted.
And here's some naked women.
Ah. Okay.
Well, that was out of nowhere.
Just popped up in there. Just.
So before we get on to submissions, I wanted to address one more thing.
No.
We've already seen 2 of the terminals that we're going to see in Halo CEA, and we know that they're kind of based around 343 Guilty Spark's view of Halos and that kind of stuff. We have been told that there's going to be some information in the terminals that's going to be related to Halo 4, but we really haven't seen that yet, or the stuff that we have seen is very discreetly or indirectly referencing what we'll see in Halo 4. So what do you guys think we'll see from the other terminals that'll be in the game?
In all honesty, the terminals might be my most anticipated part of Anniversary. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. And I'm kind of hoping that they have a where if you unlock all of them, you can watch all of them. Like
Like
together.
a movie?
Like the
like cinematic, yeah.
Oh, okay.
To me,
be
that would be
interesting.
really, really nice, rather than having to go on YouTube to watch them all in a row.
Or HBO.
Like,
Cutscene library.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Cutscene
library.
I know we'll have them.
Come on,
in our
I'm promoting
cutscene
your site
library.
here. Come on!
Yeah, good job. No, I don't want to seem like that guy.
I don't know. I would take every opportunity I could to be that guy.
Oh, too.
That's a total lie. I'm definitely that guy.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, to me, the 2 terminals we have seen, it very much comes across as Guilty Spark's story. So, it's not we're really not restricted necessarily to just his perception or what he experienced regarding the events of Halo 1 around Installation 04, but instead, I think we, obviously as we kind of saw some of, the initial monitors gathering together, before they dispersed, before being assigned to their, respective Halos and all. I think we'll see a lot more, ancient history as well as kind of how it connects to.
I'm wondering if they talk about where the other Halos went. Why are there only 7 now?
Well, there's something else too in the. I guess it's.
So
the
Bobby
second
lost
terminal.
his.
I guess one of them was one of them at least was destroyed. We know for sure, but
Yeah.
they can easily rebuild that because the Ark was right there. So.
Well, and then there were in one of the. I guess this is the second terminal. There were only 6 monitors. Where's the 7th?
He's
Was I the only one to really pick up on that, or?
he's a procrastinator.
He was late to the meeting.
he was what was it, monitor 0934 permanent procrastinator. Perpetual
Get a ring. He wasn't responsible enough.
Something happened.
Well, yeah, you bring up an interesting point. We don't know. As far as we know, there was 1 monitor assigned to each Halo installation.
Right.
As well as, for example, with Bloodlines, we learned that there's a monitor for each Lion installation. There could very well be multiple monitors in charge of Shield worlds. Who knows? We didn't see anything from Halo Wars, but that doesn't mean they didn't exist. That was kind of a, that was one flavor, as Jeff was talking about, one flavor of Shield world that we've learned about. So. Yeah,
right.
And who's to say that the flood that was on that Shield world didn't take over that monitor?
Oh, true. Yeah.
We didn't. The flood had already gotten to Penitent Tangent on in Halo 2. So
yeah, but Penitent Tangent wasn't like being controlled by the flood, was he?
No. But what I'm saying is we never saw him floating around. It wasn't like he rushed to greet us like Guilty Spark did. So just
he was
because
captive,
we didn't see,
Well, except on Backwash, he was
kind of
floating.
run out to get us.
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that there wasn't one of that shield world, like Daniel was saying. It could be. In fact, I would imagine that there is, a monitor for each one. What I think we might find out is, I think that the monitors might have been Forerunner before they were monitors. And there is a piece in one of the books where he talks about I think it might be the Flood, the new edition of the reissue of the Flood, where there is basically a monologue by Guilty Spark, and he specifically says, we knew, kind of that this path would be a lonely one, to watch over everything. And I feel like it was like maybe they were a Forerunner who took on this task, and their consciousness was basically uploaded to the domain, and then put into.
Oh, that's what it's called. Sorry.
Well, no, yeah. I didn't make that up either. All these words you think I'm making up, only half of them are. So. So.
And then put in his casing,
and then
basically
put
his.
in that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that could very well be true. One thing, I mean, obviously in CE we have lots of references to my makers, those kind of comments, those phrases. It doesn't mean necessarily that, I'll reword that. It doesn't just because their consciousness is now in the domain and then they're put in a casing. They're still, in a sense, made, perhaps. So that, I guess that could still be valid. But no, you bring up an interesting, what's the word? Speculation. I hadn't thought about that before.
Yeah, I have a feeling that may be what the terminals kind of deal with just a little bit is the history of the monitors themselves, and that still would work in connecting us to the books and to what we might be looking at with Halo 4, and maybe we see something where they've been watching Chief for a long time, or I hate to go the time travel route, but at the same time, there are still some questions left up in the air to when, Guilty Spark says some things like, why would you hesitate to do what you already have done? And he treats him like, in Halo 1 even, he treats him like, what's up, bud? Like, where you been? And he's treating him like he is, has done it before. Now, there's of course speculation that, that he's looking at him, with the whole "you are Forerunner" thing, and maybe he was thinking that he was a leftover Forerunner and saying like, "Oh no, we already did this again, and why do you only have a Class 2 suit on?" And and not necessarily identifying Chief as an individual, but I don't know. I think he was.
Creepy.
I mean, at the point that 343 or Guilty Spark was created, the Forerunners could have already pretty much taken human akin to them being their what's the word I'm looking for?
Master.
No, inherit that they would inherit what they left behind, blah 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 blah. So I mean, in that respect, they could just be treating them the same way, but yeah, we'll have to see, I guess.
Well, which I find really funny, and man, this is a really hard discussion. Have you guys all read Cryptum?
No.
See, this is a really difficult discussion to have, guys, not having that. Because I was like, I don't want to spoil
Come
stuff,
back in 3 months when all of us have read Cryptum.
At the same time, like, you learn in Cryptum, I mean, you learn it pretty early that, there was originally a human Forerunner war. And, that there's been some stuff going on, and we weren't exactly buddy-buddy, like that there was a rivalry, very akin to a sibling rivalry between the Forerunner and the human. And, so I think that the relationship of Forerunner and human and how that had to change from then to the point to where, the Flood were taking over everything, and their last resort was to basically, give everything over to humanity because they were realizing that the way they were doing it finally was not the right way to do it. And again, there's a lot more I actually really want to say, but I don't want to ruin it, because there's a lot more involved with that and involved with the story that I think is very poignant.
I guess we're having another show in the future for everyone who's read Cryptum. I still got finished Onyx.
I haven't even.
So I'm like, how many books am I behind now? Like 6 or 7 of them?
For each, and then
I think there's 7.
There's Evolutions I need to read. Contact
6 or 7
Harvest
main
I need to
novels.
read.
Oh, Contact Harvest is so good.
Yeah.
I read.
I need to reread the original trilogy because I've forgotten a lot of that stuff now.
I will tell you, if you're going to get the original trilogy, I really enjoyed the re-releases, and I don't care what anybody says.
I've had them for years.
I don't care. You can take my money because they're great, and not only that, but I liked the fact that all the books match now. So I like the way it looks on my shelf. So
What do you mean match?
He's very aesthetic.
No, they match. I like the size is all the same and everything.
Oh no, I bought the original trilogy.
Well, but what's nice about the re-releases is they've got a lot of extra little fiction stuff at the end of each one, and it's some really cool, important stuff that I think is going to be touched on. And in all honesty, I think that we're going to get to the end of Halo 4 and 5 and 6, and we're going to realize that they've been hiding stuff in plain sight since the re-releases and since Legends, and all sorts of things that maybe they were leaving some clues along. And we're gonna rewatch something in Legends or reread something, a little story at the end of a re-release, and we're gonna be like, oh my god, they were telling us this the whole time. I mean,
that's inevitable.
Halo 1 said.
That's gonna happen.
It just flew over my heads. But Grim, you're saying that we had a war with them. Like, I honestly haven't read any of the books yet. Like, I haven't been up to date, but when you said, like, when you said when we were in the war with the Forerunners and them, like, it just popped up in my head. And this is pretty random, off topic, but maybe the Forerunners could secretly be Transformers.
Yeah, totally.
we were in war with them, so they're secretly.
Forerunners were the Decepticons.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back on topic.
No.
After
I had nothing for that.
I had to pull that one out of thin air, man. I was confused.
Something that relates to what Jeff was also talking about. I mean, just within the Forerunners themselves. So obviously there was the human Forerunner conflict, or rivalry in a sense, but we learn in Cryptum that even amongst Forerunners there were a lot of kind of factions and almost civil war kind of breaking out, not necessarily actual fighting, but at least tensions were high. But up to now, excluding Cryptum as far as the games go, the Forerunner have always been kind of this, godlike, they do nothing wrong, they're perfect, and, we need, especially with the Covenant, obviously they revered them. But even humanity looks up to them, not knowing the previous history, the modern humanity.
Right.
But my point is that, Cryptum shows that there is a lot of conflict amongst themselves. And so I wouldn't be surprised if in Halo 4 we perhaps even see some, potentially could see some Forerunner conflicts amongst themselves, even if there are Forerunner in that game. I don't think it'd be out of reach to see something like that happen.
I had a dream that one day Forerunners and humanity can come together as brothers. That's fine.
Oh, God.
You're not allowed to say that.
Our whole perception of the Forerunner, as I was saying, has kind of been skewed by the Covenant's devotion to him, basically, and then humanity looking up to him and kind of their technological supremacy. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see perhaps there are Forerunner that could end up as enemies, maybe, who knows, or Forerunner that at least, you know, or at least amongst Forerunners, there's some angst still. So, you know.
What's going to be interesting, too, is you know, and they talk about it in the first chapter of Glasslands, that there are still sects of elites of Sakhili that are still very devout and old-school fundamentalists devoted to that idea that the Forerunners were gods, or that they treat them as such. And it's funny, you know, one of the elites, you know, basically says to a human, you know, it's like, you know, you need to stop talking crap about, you know, our gods. And, you know, and the human's like, you know, look, we're just telling you what the technology and what the stuff they made did. And he was like, you know, you're talking about like the Forerunners sacrificed themselves. And he's like, you know, speaking to the human, you know, you revere your God because he came and sacrificed himself. And you even say that he still lives now. He's like, you know, what's the difference with how we revere the Forerunners? Like, just because they, you know, let's say they did sacrifice themselves, that doesn't make them any less of a god in our eyes. And so, you know, it's going to be really interesting because, and there's a split happening, you know, it looks like between the elites, because you've got, like, you know, leaders like the Arbiter who have been through the ringer, and then, you know, they're like, you know, he's very jaded as far as that goes.
Right.
And he's like, no. All of this is a total complete lie. The Forerunners were a bunch of schmucks who didn't know what they were doing, and you know, and then you've got like the fundamentalists who are like, no, they can do no wrong. And of course, you know, the answer, you know, for everything that we know and don't know, I would assume, you know, the answer kind of lies somewhere in between.
Exactly,
and it's funny,
yeah.
I almost view the Forerunners less as godlike and more as parental-like. Because, you know, when you're a kid and you're like, dude, my parents, they do no wrong. But as you get older, you realize, no, actually, my parents have made a lot of mistakes. But a lot of those mistakes, you know, and a lot of the decisions that they made were tough decisions because of the crap that was going on, or a certain situation, or it was just what you had to do. And it gives you a new respect and appreciation for that. And that's kind of, I think, as we learn more about the Forerunner, that's the way I kind of view that as, you know, we at first thought that they were just these godlike, almost omnipotent, you know, like whatever they say goes, no matter what, everything that was right. But now we're looking back like, you know, they had a lot of issues and they had a lot of human type problems, but the way that they dealt with it and the way that humanity deals with it, you know, the things that are the same about the way we deal with our issues and the things that are different are very, very important as far as why that changeover, as far as the responsibility to kind of govern the galaxy, why that had to take place. And I think that's why what we're going to be seeing over the next two Forerunner books, and probably what's going to, you know, be dabbled in with the games themselves.
That's really, really interesting points, dude. You really hit it on the head there.
Did you have any dreams secretly about any of the new content that's going to be on the new game?
Yeah, really.
You're like predicting all of this stuff that's going to happen.
Why don't you tell us about how we were created as humans?
343 actually has a brain tap, so they're, you know, injecting dreams while he sleeps.
I knew it was a dream within a dream.
Yeah,
you know,
no, that's an interesting view, the parental view. I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, obviously you have the mantle, which, you know, at least a faction of the Forerunner believed it was their duty, especially the kind of the life workers, the life shapers, to cater to, you know, be caretakers to, you know, all of the other life and the galaxy. So obviously that's a very kind of nurturing, you know, parental role, but still, yeah, it's, you know, that's a very interesting perspective. So thank you for bringing that up.
Anytime, buddy. I have my moments.
Yeah, I wish I had more of those.
You had
I had an apostrophe. Dust, if I could bring something up too. Somebody had made a good, you know, a really neat point on the HBO forums, and this is IB2 from HBO, and his big thing was he was. I'll read the very first part of what he says. He says something that makes Halo stand out to me in terms of story isn't so much the content, but the storytelling itself. It's obvious that Joe and Marty and the other core group of guys have a really good intuition for clearly communicating through visuals and music and means that aren't dialogue. And he kind of goes on and he talks about how, one of his biggest beefs was that sometimes the series has horrible dialogue. And of course, and I do agree with that. I mean, there are some, where are we going to send them? To war. I mean, there are those moments of like, oh my gosh.
The least climactic punchline you could deliver there.
But then it's funny, he also makes a point that sometimes when the dialogue is nailed, the dialogue is really, really nailed. He says as far as story content, Halo is pretty standard sci-fi space opera at its core, but it does present some unique characters and ideas. This has been said a lot before, but making the Covenant sympathetic characters in Halo 2 was a really, really bold. And Halo 3 proved to me that a video game could make you cry. I've always felt like the best moments in the story derive from Chief and Cortana's relationship. And the stuff between the stuff between them in Halo 3 was just incredibly well done. When she says, "It's been an honor working with you, John," it gets me every single time. It's impossible for me to not tear up during that shot. And I agree. I mean, and again, it kind of goes back to like what we were talking about with reading the human weakness and how all of a sudden it makes it more poignant and everything. But at the same time, human weakness is purely dialogue in a way, and so it was kind of supplanting. But again, you get dialogue in a book you just can't do. If you wrote a game script like a book, it would be a crappy game.
It'd be a very long game.
So it'd be Metal Gear Solid. But hey, now, I love the Metal Gear series. So, but and so I do think that where it does, but he makes the point that where the dialogue falls short, the storytelling approaches that they take are so good through the music and through the visuals. When you walk out of that life pod and you're standing there on Halo, no one needs to say anything.
Oh yeah.
That you feel like it's funny. You all at once feel the gravity of a situation, and yet at the same time you have no freaking idea what awaits you. And that is a great storytelling device that they use all the time. And the music. I mean, the music for ODST was so brilliant.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, made the it's funny. It didn't rain graphically. It didn't rain at all. It's through the whole game. But I thought it was freaking raining the whole time because they have the sounds going, and also even just the little the high octave piano notes. It evokes a feeling of that there is a storm, that there and it was just, I mean, it's brilliant and it's beautiful, and it's something that supplants dialogue at its at the most opportune times. And I thought that his whole post is a really good one. If any of you guys are interested to check it out, and it actually is a really good discussion that he really starts on HBO on the forum there. But I think that's a great thing, is the storytelling itself, not just the story. And he references it to like Lost, where in the show Lost, there's like these big mysteries, but really at its core, Lost was never about the mysteries. Lost was about the people and the decisions that they made, and how they were dealing with that, and it was a very, very super personal story. Whereas with Halo, it's almost the opposite. Like, sometimes you want to believe that, oh no, it's just a human story at its core, but it's really not. It really is like the big mysteries. It's far greater, and these little human stories are just these little pockets within, that often do have a big part to play, but at the same time, it really is about the overarching mystery. So, I thought that he brought up some really good points, and it matches well with a lot of what we've been saying. Not just specifically about the fiction, but just about the way that the story is told, because the way the story is told is just as much important, just as important as the story itself. again, the story would not be what it is without using all of the different mediums. I mean, in ODST, one of my favorite things was Sadie's story, which again was kind of like a type of terminal, really, if you think about it.
Right, yeah.
And you had the terminals in Halo 3, which was like a novel inside the game. Then you have the novels themselves, and I enjoyed Legends. Like I know that people have their issues with it, and there are things that you can chalk up to artistic license, but I thought that there were some neat things that were brought into that, things that are connected and everything. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and kind of halt our overly in-depth discussions and head on over to some submissions.
12-hour rant.
Part 2 coming soon. No.
Oh god. No, let's keep this one show.
Take 5 hours.
No, that's for the decade shows.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, right.
Just kidding.
Yeah, Mrs. One is already calling. She, I think, wondering what's going on for dinner. So,
well, we've been at this for an hour and a half so far.
We're actually making a 5-course meal as we speak right now.
Dinner.
Okay.
Not going there.
Yeah, that would be wise of you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read the first one. This one is from Arrowhead896. He writes, "Hey Podtac, this is Arrowhead896, and I wanted to clear up some confusion about humans, forerunners, and precursors. According to Cryptum, the humans had built a massive intergalactic empire 100,000 years before the events of Halo CE. Allying with the Prophets, they had a sufficient technology level to compete with the Forerunners. However, they were attacked by the Flood, and as the Flood infected more and more human worlds, the humans were forced to invade Forerunner worlds. The humans eventually managed to take out the Flood by injecting a third of their population with a special Flood-killing genes and sacrificing that part of their population to beat the Flood back for a while. The Forerunners beat the humans, though, and forcibly devolved
Now you don't have to read Cryptum.
Yeah, really.
No kidding.
Just the entire thing.
And forcibly devolved them and destroyed their entire civilization.
I guess we can test out that whole, are you going to enjoy the story now?
I guess that's true.
Yeah, really. Where can I buy some of those flood-killing genes?
Yeah.
So is that what happened to Johnson?
It's actually secretly methamphetamine.
Yeah, Johnson's been alive for 100,000
As long as it's
years.
not flood-killing skinny jeans, I'm fine.
When the Forerunners activated the Halo rings 9,000 years later, the humans had managed to redevelop steam technology and were designated by the Forerunners as the Reclaimers, before being indexed to be protected from the Halo rings. This forced them to start over, and it took them another 90,000 years to get to where they were at the start of Halo CE. The precursors are an older race that created the Forerunners before the Forerunners rebelled and essentially wiped them out. At the time of Cryptum, there is at least one survivor whose whereabouts are unknown. All precursor structures were destroyed by the activation of the Halo rings. Sorry about the long submission, but it's just to help inform everyone of the Halo history. Keep on fragging noobs who use aimbots."
This guy plays PC games a lot.
Yeah. Aimbots! I hate the aimbots.
Whoa. Calm down.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So there you go.
I guess I got Cryptum in a nutshell there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I can scratch that off my summer.
So
Sorry to ruin it for you.
896 for ruining everything.
Sorry to bust your bubble there, Grim.
Yep, you're famous now. Hope that's what you wanted.
You still should read it, though.
You want to take
too,
the next one?
definitely.
You still should read
you
it.
three. Sorry, you three.
No, I'll still read it. I'll still read it.
Greg Bear does paint a slightly more elegant picture than Arrowhead does.
Yes.
He has a knack for creating rich visuals. So, good read.
Okay.
All right.
Grim, you want to read the next one?
No. Yeah.
Well, which one is it then? Yes or no?
All right. So, Proxator.
That's right.
Proxator?
Proxator, yeah.
All right. Hey,
wait.
Podtacular,
No,
it's
you missed-
Proxeter.
wait,
With
wait,
my
wait, wait.
opinion,
You skipped
what?
one. You skipped
You
one.
skip Mick. Mick J1.
I'm sorry.
Come on.
Sorry,
Come
Mick
on.
J1. I wonder if there's a Mick J4. Let's see.
That would be completely and utterly ironic.
Mick J IV is what it would need. And he says, "Hey guys, love the show. My question relates to Halo 4 and the new trilogy. I'd like to ask if you think that now 343 Guilty Spark has been destroyed." I am reading this verbatim. If you
we
think
don't have the
now
best grammar.
343
Cool.
Guilty Spark has been destroyed with the other monitors and their respective rings play any part in future Halo games. I think he's asking, okay, now that Guilty Spark has been destroyed, will the other monitors and their respective rings play any part in future Halo games? Okay, I think they will be involved for two reasons. Number one, the recently released Halo Anniversary Terminal trailer was all about 343's story, and 343 Industries has said that the new terminals in Halo Anniversary will provide clues to the Halo 4 storyline. Number two, like Midget Dance said on a previous podcast, the game is called Halo. Gotta love Halos. So unless
have Halos.
so unless Master Chief went back in time, it would be weird to be having a whole Halo trilogy without any Halos in it. And he says, I have a couple of quick questions. Number one, are you guys all nervous that revealing more about the Forerunner in future Halo games will ruin their mystique? Personally, one of the things that made the Forerunners cool to me is that they were so mysterious. And number two, do you think that the other Halo rings and monitors will play a part in the future Halo story? Thanks, love the podcast, and keep up the good work. So, yeah, it's question number one. Are we at all nervous? That's a good question, actually. Are we at all nervous that revealing more about the Forerunners? I don't think so. To me, it was almost getting more old that they were so mysterious. It was almost the trope was wearing a little more thin, like
almost frustrating. Yeah,
you have no idea what they did because it makes it easier then to use that as a crutch, because you can be like, oh, it was the Forerunner, and we have no idea anything about them, so anything that possibly we could say could be true. I think it's definitely a bolder and more dangerous road to go down, but there is every opportunity with utilizing, the precursors or whatever to still build and continue to build mystery in there. So I'm not worried about it. I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah, and additionally, I mean, when you guys read Cryptum, you'll understand firsthand. But Greg Bear, he not only through his writing answers and kind of reveals obviously some things about the Forerunners we didn't know before, but he also asks many questions. And I personally am kind of like Graham. I don't think it's going to be ruined, and certainly with the precursors now, learning about those and just kind of introducing those more so, that I think we'll definitely have plenty to be mysterious. So I'm not too worried.
Agreed.
How about you two?
Yeah.
I think the second question kind of answers itself too, as far as do we think that the other monitors? I definitely think that the other monitors will continue to play into the Halo storyline. I mean, I don't know if we see them in 4 or not, but the Halo story is kind of progressing in both directions. They're telling the past and they're telling the future, so I do think that they will play a part in that.
Something else also, obviously Halos evoke kind of a circular, image perhaps, but Halo and the Halo universe, Halos and the Halo universe are just one aspect of the Halo array, and kind of the Forerunners' plan, obviously to basically, as a last resort, to wipe themselves out and kill the Fled, hopefully. So certainly the Halo rings are a part of that, but you also have the Ark, and you also have Shield Worlds, and you also have other installations, aspects, information, who knows what, that will all be a part of their end game plan, basically. So my point is, if there's not a ring specifically, then we'll at least have certainly Halo related, Halo array installations, basically.
Well, and the funny thing is, like, the whole story takes place because of the ring's effects too.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
It's kind of like, most of the story, even back from when the Forerunners fired them originally and test fired them, it's the fallout from making the decision to build this structure and what it meant. And so, all of the story, no matter what, is connected back to the choices and the situations that went into, needing to build such a device and then making the decision to push the red button. So no matter what story gets told, you could even argue that, humanity exists in part because of the Halo rings firing. So no matter what, the story is always going to be drawn back to the Halo rings, even if you don't physically see them or are exploring them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Very.
Okay, Zant, you said you wanted to take Proxeter?
Yeah. Proxeter says, "Hey, Podtacular, it's Proxeter with my opinion on the possible implications of Halo 4 for the series as a whole. First off, obviously, we know that Master Chief will return once more to battle an unknown entity. Perhaps these enemies are the precursors that the Forerunners spoke of, hence the reason why perhaps the Forerunner series of books are being written to shed some light on both Forerunners as well as the precursors. Personally, I hope it doesn't take this direction. We've already seen a similar scenario with the Reapers in Mass Effect. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents. Keep on fragging trucks."
Thanks for spoiling Mass Effect for me.
Man,
that
Well,
game's been
Podtacular.
out for how long now?
You gotta play some
I've beaten it
games.
3 times. I'm just...
Play games.
Yeah, really.
It's like $20 now.
I haven't played any of the Mass Effect games.
I've got a kind of a question that goes along a little bit with that for you guys. I mean, somebody started a thread, and made a comment on, in the HBO when we were talking about, this podcast, and it was like, instant plot, just add Forerunner. Like, do you think that that was Quirrell that said that, to give him credit? Do you think that that's becoming tired? Not necessarily the revealing of the Forerunner or not, but just the fact that we've got the Forerunner at all. Do you he makes a statement. One of his closing statements, I think, is really good. He's, kind of addressing 343. He's like, "So please remember, when writing the future Halo games, novels, and comics, the Forerunner artifacts are interesting and integral to the backstory, but cannot carry this franchise for long on their lonesome." And he's talking that eventually it will become kind of old as far as like, oh, there's a relic. Oh, we hit it. Oh, we don't know what it does. Or it was an only cover-up. The Covenant are after it. Or, so he said something funny. He was like, what could we do with the relic? We'll drive it under the Covenant ship so they won't blow us up. So, which I think was actually a brilliant idea. Pull the trigger.
Oh, jeez. Okay, Funny Boy, you want to take Daphs?
Huh?
I'm sorry. Who did you say? I didn't catch.
Daft.
Me?
Funny Boy said he wanted to take Daphs.
There you go.
Sure, I guess.
Aim for the clouds.
Hey, you're the one that asked for it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Make it seem that way. I see how it is.
I have Skype logs.
Dear Podtacular, I have to say one of my favorite story moments was at the end of Ghosts of Onyx, when Mendez, Halsey, Fred Kelly, and others were in the S.H.I.E.L.D. world. It felt like a new beginning in the lives of the characters and left a huge possibility open for a sequel that could go many different ways. I think we'll see them all again in maybe Glasslands, or perhaps even
Confirmed.
4.
Yeah.
The structure that Master Chief is floating towards could be the S.H.I.E.L.D. world that the crew
Aforementioned.
is in.
Aforementioned?
Yeah.
Yes. And Chief will finally reunite with his teammates. Plus, it'd be awesome having some of the expanded universe characters in the game with voice actors and everything, though we did not get Halsey and Reach. As for
I think we should have them in the game, but no voice acting.
I'm confused. As for the terminals and anniversary, I think they'll provide more info/lore on the Forerunners and Halo rings that will become very important in Halo 4. Plus, maybe answer some long-time serious questions. Serious, yeah. Keep fragging the people who use armor lock. Sincerely,
why so serious?
dazzled117. Now, hold on. Armor lock is awesome. So, I don't like dazzled anymore. It's tactical.
A lot of people hate you now.
No, it's no. It's tact.
You know what's funny? I've never had a problem with fighting someone with armor lock. Don't get near them.
See, well, it's like there are ways to combat it, but then again, it's like
armor lock
there's
is an incredible tool in the Reach.
It doesn't happen often, but there are certain situations where someone will go into armor lock, and I feel like I have a pretty good timing and position on throwing nades and stuff, and then they somehow miraculously don't die, and I'm like, that didn't make sense. How did he just kill me?
That's great about armor lock. It makes you invincible. That's why
I'm happy that the TU update's coming and that the armor lock makes sense to actually die with taking damage.
Well, yeah. Are you really surprised when you
that just defeats the purpose of armor lock then?
Yeah.
No.
Like if you're getting hit while you're like locking in armor, then
yeah, you have the ability to turn.
No, because it still protects you from that damage.
Yes.
It just doesn't necessarily allow you to continue to do it over a longer period of time.
I mean, you shouldn't be able to take like 20 rockets to the face.
If you put yourself in a situation where there's like 9 nades being thrown at you, you shouldn't have been there probably in the first place. Like, but if you lock down and somebody threw a nade at down at your feet and you lock down and survive it, then armor lock served its purpose. And I don't think anybody should be mad about that. But I don't know. I do think it could have used a little bit of balancing.
I love it.
The title update may have gone pretty heavy on it. We'll see how that goes. But you know what? I didn't like that the cloak got nerfed. I didn't think that should be
needed to do that.
Touched. The only time it was an issue was when you had a sniper who would just kind of stay cloaked and made it tougher, and you could stay cloaked for a longer period.
But see, that makes
time. But
I think that makes strategic sense.
Yeah, I enjoyed the cloak. I enjoyed fighting against it.
Granted, I don't use it, but
yeah, I didn't use it at all. But I liked fighting people who used it. It added an interesting element, and I think it was.
Well, and it was always interesting when you ran in a room and all of a sudden your radar was jammed, and you're like, oh snap!
Yeah, I got terrified.
You start looking around for predators.
You're like, where'd he go?
It's like if you see them, you know that they're there, and they're kind of easy to spot. But I guess the effective use of the invis would be a good. Decent range away with a sniper.
Right, yeah. I like it a lot.
You can't see me. Bam, you're dead.
Headshot. Gotcha, bitch.
Nutshot. No. There's actually a game that they implement like nut shots. It was really funny when I was playing. You get an award, and you see, you hear the person laughing, whoever got shot, or you shot in the nuts, and you see a squirrel holding a 2 big pairs of nuts, and it just said nut shot.
An interesting story on nut shots was in Medal of Honor: Rising Sun. After each game, it was one of the first shooters I'd ever played, and after each game, it would tell you how many enemies you killed, and how many enemies you killed shooting them in a specific area. And me being young and white and immature, me and my friend would always see how many nut shots we could get. And in one game, we had 130 kills from the groin. Killed from the groin.
That has a different meaning.
Spectacular.
I've killed 300 people from my groin.
Wait, you mean after you've killed them by teabagging them?
Oh god.
Same concept here. Oh god.
All right.
There's a new instead of Overkill or Killtacular.
Podtacular.
No, something more witty would have to be made for that.
Let's come up with a name. Let's brainstorm. No, just kidding.
Oh gosh.
Where's a professional comedian when you need one?
Nutsack.
What?
I don't know.
Hey, what's a comedian?
That's like kids.
You're like, what a tool.
So now it's about Dane Cook.
All right. Well, we're almost at 2 hours, so I think we've talked long enough for you guys having to listen to our banter. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thanks again for listening in. Next week, I'm not quite sure what we're doing yet. Probably be something along the lines of Collins and Tails. Not sure who we're getting on as a guest. But the Griffball Hub people might be a good choice for that.
That'd be fun.
So, but yeah, just watch Podtacular for podtacular.com, and we'll make an announcement of what our next episode will be. It's going to be on Fridays from now on when we record, or it should be. At least that's the plan. Make sure you check out HBO, where GrimBrother One resides, and Spirits of Fire.
We have a front page.
I don't know. I haven't found it yet.
Do you seriously have it? Yeah, I was about to say, no pick didn't happen. Oh boy. I do want to point out to everyone that just because we're not doing a show of a specific type for like custom maps or game variants or stuff like that, or Tales, doesn't mean that you can't just go ahead and send those in when they happen. So if you have something and you want it to be read on the show, and if you think it's show worthy, just go ahead and send us an email. We will most likely read it at some point, since we have our inbox is kind of low at the moment. So feel free to send away anything you have. I didn't mention this on the last podcast, but I'll go ahead and mention it now. Brent Gamer has decided to step down. Why are you laughing?
Crying.
He's crying.
Oh, that's crying. That's crying? That's your best crying impersonation you can do.
That's fine.
I'm actually getting kind of teary-eyed.
All right.
Wow.
But yeah, Brent has decided to step down from being a co-host on the show.
He's gonna be on regular show now.
You stepped down to a co-host.
Co-host.
Stay tuned for his next show. What a tool! Oh wait, no.
No, he'll probably go ahead and start up Goldenrod Radio. There's the Pokemon drop for the show. Okay, guys, we're out. Thanks for listening. See you guys later.
Thanks.
Later.
Hey everyone, Duststorm here. I wanted to go ahead and tell you guys about a little post-show thing that we did with GrimBrother One and Elusive Eagle, where, as some of you guys may know, I'm currently reading The Ghosts of Onyx, and I kind of wanted to know what my next steps for reading the book should be. So I went ahead and asked Grim and Elusive Eagle kind of what next books I should read, and they gave some really insightful hints on and gives an order of what books to read. And we even went as far as saying, for someone who has started out just reading the books or haven't gotten to it yet, what a good order is. So if you want to hear that discussion and a few other things that we had after the show, head over to podtacular.com, and on the post where this episode will be posted, there will be a link to another MP3 file where you can hear that information. So thanks again for listening, guys, and make sure you go check it out.